Jennifer LaFrance.
Well, good afternoon. Before I get started, I'm just going to take the liberty of renaming my presentation. I think in your program it's referred to as Recipe for Success, which is fine, but I thought a more thought-provoking name might be Cake Pops, Catholics, and Ryan Gosling. And you might wonder what the connection is to McCormick, and that makes sense because, after all, we manufacture and sell black pepper and cinnamon and vanilla and all these fantastic flavors. So what do those three things have to do with McCormick? And really what connects that and what the common thread is around the data that we have around the three items that I just mentioned. And from data, we've been able to learn so much about our consumer behavior. We've been able to change our content strategy and our content approach as a result of data. And we've also, very importantly, been able to target our media spend more effectively and more efficiently. So we're getting a whole lot more bang for our buck. And really, this is our mission, which is to save your world from boring food. Our chairman and CEO, Alan Wilson, likes to say this an awful lot, and we love it too. We are moving or migrating ourselves, really evolving from being known as a spice and herb company into a flavor solution that consumers can use on a daily basis. And to bring that to life a little bit, I have a quick video to share with you.
Dark, waiting to be used, but going completely forgotten. And then there are those not content with being just a spice. Those who want to seek out and inspire new creations and new flavors. Flavors that become the heart of a menu and the theme of a party. Flavors that create a table everyone wants to gather around. Flavors that become part of people's traditions and their heritage. Flavors so wonderful they define the person who cooks with them. Stepping out of the dark cupboard and becoming a flavor company gives us permission to create tools, events, and services that will fuel passions in cooks just getting started and those with 25 years under their belt. A flavor company is the place experts turn to for what's next and is the trusted brand around the world that understands local flavor. So let's make this love of flavor everyone's passion. Let's become a flavor company. And let's save the world from boring food.
So being a flavor company allows us to play in a much broader space. It's a bigger sandbox, there's more competition there, and recipe views are extremely, extremely important to us within this context. Because as a flavor company, as an ingredient company, you're not using our products all by themselves. You're using it within an end dish. So we really pay a lot of attention to what consumers are searching for and the data that surrounds that. So just a couple of high-level stats that probably won't come as any surprise to you guys in the room. Close to 600 million recipe searches on Google and YouTube in 1 year. And all of these searches have a pretty big, extensive data trail attached to them, which we can then leverage in terms of our recipe development efforts and product development as well. We also know that digital channels influence purchase decisions. 80% of purchase decisions are made before the grocery store shopper arrives in the grocery store. So if you're making pork tenderloin and you need a rub that goes with that pork tenderloin, you are going to purchase the cumin based on that recipe. So people are coming in already with a mindset about what they're going to purchase. And another interesting stat is that 65% of moms will go to an online recipe and then purchase the branded ingredient that's called for in that recipe. So huge opportunities for McCormick. And thirdly, we all know this, recipes are extremely social. Food in the social space is absolutely exploding, particularly around Pinterest. So the food and drink category is the most popular category on Pinterest. And 57% of people on Pinterest are actually interacting with food-related content in some form or fashion. So what are the interesting trends that we've spotted within all of these digital recipe searches? So this slide just shows what people are most frequently searching for. So these are some of these large areas of recipe searches. Not surprisingly, chicken recipes far outweighs some of the other categories that you see here. This is just monthly recipe searches on Google. And so we pay attention not only to these broad categories, but we also pay attention to what I would consider micro trends in this space, which brings me to cake pops, of course. You knew I was going there. So what is it about cake pops that really excited us? As we looked at Google Trends, you can see the chart on the left. These are recipe searches for cake pops, 2004 to present. You can see nothing going on until about 2011, when suddenly we saw this spike in interest around cake pops. We had no content to support this type of search. And we just happened to be developing recipes at this time and saying, okay, how can we leverage this trend? Let's develop some cake pop recipes, and that's exactly what we did. So over on the far right is cake pop searches in 2012. You can see how this trend has been pretty sustained, but also how it spikes around key baking occasions or key baking holidays like Easter and the holidays, Christmas time. So within these micro trends, and even within those larger categories like chicken, McCormick is one player amongst many. So how do we capture even a fraction of all of this recipe search demand? One of the things we do is that we leverage our own data. So we really closely track the recipe views on our own site. So this is an overlay. This shows you all the recipe views on McCormick.com over the course of a 3-year period. And you can see the spikes around holidays, around Super Bowl, when people are most interested in searching for recipes. This is also a very self-fulfilling prophecy because we drive certain recipes at key times of the year. So what we really like to pay attention to here is also what was organically spiking on our website. And I'll show you a couple of examples of that. So the first one is cheesy broccoli casserole, which we developed as a Thanksgiving side dish a couple years ago. And we turn on search on November 1st, we turn it off the day after Thanksgiving, and we're done with it. And you can see those first 2 spikes from the first 2 years of data that we have. Well, we just thought this was for Thanksgiving. Like, that's all we ever promoted it for. Well, apparently people on Pinterest didn't know that, and so they started pinning this recipe in June, July, August, this past summer. We have no idea how that got started, but all we knew is that we wanted to take advantage of it. So we fueled the fire here by adding it to it wasn't even on our own Pinterest board at the time, which was ridiculous. But then we also wanted to make it more prevalent on our pages, more prevalent within our CRM channels. And so we were able to do that. By the time we got to Thanksgiving period, which was our key period, this ended up being more of a 1 + 1 = 3 type of situation. Another example is cinnamon ornaments. So you can see the first 2 years, you can see that spike. We do have this as a priority recipe, but interestingly, the brand team decided this would not be a priority recipe for 2012. So we didn't spend any search dollars behind this. So all the traffic that you see at the far right is organic traffic that came from Pinterest. And ordinarily, like the case with broccoli casserole, we like to be ahead of these trends. In this case, we missed one because we didn't know this until January. Nobody's making cinnamon ornaments in January. But thankfully, Christmas comes every year. So what we're doing with this information is not only are we going to obviously make cinnamon ornaments a key recipe in our recipe marketing strategy this year, but we also took a look at some of the data, some of the comments that people were making around cinnamon ornaments, and learned a lot from that. So some of the comments that were made around cinnamon ornaments was just, this was a lovely craft that I was able to make with my kids. These were great gifts to give at the holidays. So what we're doing this year at the holiday is we're going to be coming out with more recipes around crafts and around gifts like cookies and candies that you can make and give from your own kitchen. So we'll see how that test goes, but certainly informed by the data that we have staring us right in the face. And we also know that recipe views drive sales. So what you're seeing here is an overlay of our IRI data across several of our different products, coupled with recipe views. So you can see the spikes in recipe views as well as in-store sales efforts. So we're really excited about what we've learned just over the last year, and we're doing a deeper dive, a broader selection of SKUs, a broader selection of our products, and really kind of exploring all the recipe views that we have. So we'll know a lot more in just a couple of months, but we're really excited about this early kind of preliminary data that we've seen. So that's the data that we have staring us in the face. How do we know what to do on various platforms? So this is a data visualization tool that our digital agency uses. We're with RGA, and you see McCormick.com in the center. This is a time-progressed look at McCormick.com in the middle and the relationship to 2,000 other food-related websites. The closer and larger those bubbles get to McCormick.com means that there's a stronger relationship in terms of cross-visitation. So what we're trying to discover here is what sites are we sharing visitors with? And what was really valuable about this exercise, outside of the fact that I think it looks really cool, this is not a spreadsheet, what we really liked about this is it really helped us identify potential new partners that maybe we weren't thinking about before. When we execute our digital marketing campaigns, we typically go with the usual suspects. So this helped us identify some other potential partners where there was already a good cross-section of visitors that would visit these various sites along with ours. Then we can also see how different sites deliver unique visitors to our site. So the x-axis here shows the percentage of new visits that each of these different platforms is driving to McCormick.com. This is organic traffic only. And then the higher the bubble, that means the more pages per visit that we're seeing from those sources. So I'll animate. Oh. I'm going to try and animate this. Nope, I'm not going to animate it. If I were to animate it, what you would see is that Google and Pinterest really stay consistent in terms of the percentage of traffic that they drive. Oh, here we go. I'm getting some technical assistance back here. So Google and Pinterest really, this again is over the period of several months. You can see Google and Pinterest are really driving a significant amount of traffic to our site, whereas the other sites are really kind of sporadic. And so what we have learned at this point, or what we're going to do now is, now that we've identified Pinterest as such a key driver of site traffic, how do we get those who are visiting us from Pinterest more engaged? So how do we have that little yellow bubble rise more, and we're looking at that from a content standpoint. So let's go through a few case studies of how we've applied this. So the first case study I want to share with you is for our gourmet brand, which we consider our premium brand. And our brand team wanted to pursue millennials, which is a new target audience for gourmet. We know that they index high on social media usage and social sharing, so we wanted to launch a Facebook page. And we did this in a really creative way. So our target over here, the young millennial, is on the left. And obviously, the way we initially targeted her was we went after her declared interest in gourmet food. So as we were going about our Facebook fan acquisition strategy, we looked at millennials who liked gourmet food. And then we went to the Facebook auction and bid on those terms. It's a highly competitive field. So it was pretty costly for us, which means we would have blown through our budget pretty quickly. We have a fairly small budget when you segment it across all of our brands, so we really need to make our dollars work as hard as we can. So one of the interesting things that we found is that millennials, women in particular, have other interests, like the gentleman on the right. So what we did instead was we took a look at our targets, and what we wanted to do was find out what were their adjacent interests. So in addition to gourmet food, what were the other behaviors that they were exhibiting in this space? Our target is 3 times more likely to like celebrity news and popular music. So Ryan Gosling, Coldplay, things like that. So we were able to go out and create a bidding strategy around adjacent interests, which ended up costing us 1/3 of what it would have cost us to go after gourmet food. So just to recap, gourmet food is expensive, Ryan Gosling is cheap. Please don't tweet that. Let's just keep that between us here. So did this strategy work? Because we delivered a great deal of impressions, but since the cost per click model, we only paid for those people who clicked on our ads or on our promoted posts. And so what this is showing you, the size of the bubble indicates engagement. You can see where we paid. We had paid media in the months of July and August, but the bubbles after that show not only significant engagement, but also great organic fan-based growth. So the strategy, the Ryan Gosling strategy actually worked, and we were really excited about it. So our results were that we actually had the highest number of recipe views for this brand in 2012. It is a premium brand. We were really excited that we grew the fan base to almost 400,000 fans in just a year's time. So this was extremely successful for us. We are outspent 5-to-1 in this category, and we delivered 3 times the value based on the dollar amount that we spent. So really pretty excited about the results that we have on gourmet. Let's talk about new seafood products a little bit. So we have for a very long time innovated and launched new products around search trends. One of our most successful product launches to date is around our slow cookers line, which we launched back in 2008 thanks to search data. But we also have done the same thing from a seafood perspective. So we wanted to launch our seafood products at a key time for us, which is Lent, the Lenten season. And unfortunately, our seafood brand gets no love. They don't have a high budget, so we really needed a smart approach to deliver big wins for our seafood team. So we fueled all the money, funneled all the money into search. But we wanted to execute a hypothesis and see what we could learn. What can we learn from data around seafood and seafood searches? So our hypothesis was that Lent-related searches in Catholic states with a pretty high percentage of Catholics, will actually be higher, and those people in those states, those searchers are actually more likely to click on seafood recipes. So in the map on the left, where it's red, that's a higher percentage of Catholics. Okay, the top 10 Catholic states, that's there for your reference, if you're interested to know. So what happened? We found out that our hypothesis was actually true. So each of those squares represents a different state. Rhode Island is out there on the far right. So this hypothesis turned out to be correct. And what we're really excited about here is that next year when that same brand manager comes to me and says they have the exact same spend as they did in 2013, I know that we'll be able to be more effective for them because we'll be able to target our search spend really, really effectively and efficiently. So just in general, the business impact, McCormick has been a pretty aggressive company in terms of delivering shareholder value. We innovate against all this recipe data and all the search data that I've shared with you. We launched 250 new products in 2012. So we're really excited also about our website, which we just relaunched in March of this year. We launched it responsibly, so now it's even easier to find recipes on our site, whether you're on a mobile device or a tablet or on a desktop. We've already seen some immediate impact as a result of that relaunch, and we've seen a 60% increase in recipe views to our site year to date, which means we really are saving your world from boring food. So thank you. Any questions I can answer?
Thank you, Jennifer. Are there any questions? I want to ask, how much of this is being done in-house? And how much is, tell us a little bit about the partners that you need to use in order to get all of this done, especially the technology piece, and how much you want to keep in-house or how much you want to migrate in-house, and how much you're doing through partnerships.
Sure. So right now we heavily rely on our digital agency. RGA has been fantastic in terms of helping us strategize. With the analytics, we're really kind of doing a blend. So we're using some in-house analysis coupled with our analytics team at our agency to really drive a lot of this. And I think what's been really helpful for us in terms of getting to the position that we're in is we've already done a pretty good job of breaking down those internal silos. I've heard a lot of questions around silos. So we get together, we collaborate with our IT team, with our CIO, with our marketing team members. We also have our agency with a seat at the table. So we can really kind of dive deep into the data, understand what's going on, and then we can kind of put the path forward about what we need to do next. So what data sources do we need? Do we have that? Who's best to get that? And then we would reach out to different partners if we didn't have that resource in-house.
Since this question has come up a lot throughout the day, what are your challenges in terms of staffing to ensure that people understand how to use the data and can make sense of it throughout the organization, and you are able to communicate effectively what that data should mean to them and how they can use it?
Well, I think it's really hard for my marketing team members to understand the actual inputs, but they get this. They understand the results. And so we've really been able to use this as the proof to not only increase our digital spend, but also drive their business results. So I could spend all my time educating people around the data, but really what's been great is actually seeing, the proof is in the pudding, the proof is in the results. So they're less involved on the front end, but they're more receptive to making changes and making transitions as we go.
So as long as you can show that the results are there, they're willing to give you a little bit more control over it.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
Jennifer LaFrance, thank you very much.
Thank you.